Hi, Bendy Bunch. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dominique Davis, also known as Brown and Bendy if you're new here. On this channel, we practice flexibility of the mind, the body, and the spirit. Welcome. Okay, so the only bit of information we have before we jump in is that we have a newsletter that you can join. The description box will have the link, and you can just sign up and get updates about what Brown and Bendy is doing off of YouTube. You can also learn about what I'm reading. And the most important part, it's motivational, it's spiritual. Every week I send you a little insight into my thoughts and what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling and where I am spiritually. And yeah, if you're gang, sign up for it. I think that this is a great time for me to express how much I have been loving this format of video, and I am so excited that you guys seem to be loving it too. I think that I thrive most when I just speak, when I don't put too much expectation on myself, And that actually aligns with the subject of today's video. Today we are talking about how your entire life can change once you learn how to say no. This new style of video was actually a result of me saying, I do not like the old style. And even though this old style is reminiscent of what I see other people doing, and even though the previous types of videos that I was creating, I thought they were more algorithm friendly, and I thought that they were what people wanted to see, they did not vibe well with me, and they didn't sit right in my spirit. So I said no to that type of video, even though I thought that that's what the algorithm wanted. Funny enough, you guys seem to be enjoying these videos more. When we learn to tap into our knowledge and our connection to God and what God is saying we should be doing, we're then able to come from a place of confidence with our decision making. And instead of using the world as proof of what works, we tap back into that spiritual connection with our God, because God is what works. And I know that a lot of us, we're small business owners, a lot of us are content creators, and we're constantly studying trends and studying the world to increase our chances of success. And there is a place for that. But learning to say no, whether that is in business or whether that is in your personal life, no matter what, learning to say no is so powerful, because a no is what creates space for success. A no is what creates space for opportunity and possibility. And that is why it's so important that we have a spiritual connection, so we know when we should be saying no and when we should be saying yes. Would you believe me if I told you that that was just the intro? Okay, so jumping into the video, we can start about culture of people pleasing. The culture of people pleasing. We are influenced and encouraged by the world to be people pleasers instead of being God pleasers. And even, what I was saying about my previous content, you guys often read me like a book. You're very gentle. You're very kind, but you guys can really see me, and you can see when my content's forced. You can see when my heart's not in it. And that's why, my videos were starting to become more and more spaced out, and my content style was changing every video, because either you guys were pointing out this doesn't really seem like you, or none of the videos I was making felt right. I didn't feel like I was giving you content that you really enjoyed. And all this to say, I think that it's ironic, because when we learn to say no to people pleasing, when I learned that I have to sit with God and figure out what I want to give you, the right people in my community always are so into the content. And a lot of us, we're figuring out what we want to do with our lives. This is the first video of the new year, and I intentionally worked with God to pick this topic. But this is the time to learn how to detach from the emotions of others, especially regarding what you want to do with your life, with your career, with your relationship. I have a mentor. I highly, highly suggest having a mentor in your life that is experienced in whatever your specific field is, someone who you can trust. Because when you have a mentor, you're more able to have a conversation with that one person about your perspectives and your understandings, but you're no longer held so tightly to the opinions of everyone in your life, all of the people, because everybody's an expert. Everybody has an opinion. And I think that's why people pleasing can be so convincing to us, because we think if we just try to make the people in our lives happy, if we just try to make our community happy, if we just try to make people happy, people will see the effort that we're putting in and they'll love us. They'll love what that we're doing. They'll be loyal to us. But that is never, ever true. It's not true. People will only be loyal to you and love you and feel connected to you when you show authenticity. But when we keep saying yes to things in order to please people, we're actually pushing away our authenticity. It is so important that we keep our spiritual ears open to the voice of God. And the way that we do that is by making sure that we are so committed to our spiritual hygiene, making sure that we are staying in our practices and staying aware. Because as the world moves, as people evolve, as we evolve, as our relationships evolves, there will be changes. And if we are not staying aware of how we're internally processing those changes, it gets so easy to be swept up in the emotions of others. And that's where people pleasing comes in. We want everyone to be happy so that there's no chaos. We don't have to deal with the chaos of the emotions of others. So when we have our spiritual routines and when we have our ears open to the voice of God, we are able to stick to our intentions, stick to our purpose, even though there is chaos in the world, even though that there is emotional chaos in the world. We still have clarity to what our next step is, what our next moves are, because our moves are not determined by the emotions of other people. So my personal way to make sure that I'm staying aware of the voice of God is journaling. I know a lot of us journal. I like to create a gratitude list just to help myself cleanse the palate, if you will. Personally, I'm a person, I wake up very negatively. If I do not do this routine first thing in the morning, my day is a mess. If I wake up and I spend 20 minutes awake without talking to God, my thoughts are already ridiculous. Like they're negative, they're filled with scarcity. So what I do first is I create a gratitude list just to force me into the mindset that is not only a mindset that serves me, but it's truth, right? I personally feel like a gratitude mindset connects us with the truth of what we have versus the illusion of what we lack. Gratitude helps you expand in the direction of prosperity and abundance by seeing what you already do have, what you've already been gifted with. But scarcity can be just as expansive, just not in the direction that you want to go. You notice what you don't have, and then you continue to notice what you don't have. So for me, it's very helpful to focus on gratitude. That opens me up. And then I write a little bit of praise to God before I even go into my prayer. I just make sure that I acknowledge who He is and what He's done. And then after that, I just talk to God. I just talk to God about whatever I'm currently going through in my life, the questions that I'm currently dealing with. And the beautiful thing about journaling is that it's your time to speak, right? It's your time to express. There's no one who's going to interrupt you. There's no one who's going to cut you off and say, but this is why you're wrong. Journaling is your time to really put your whole heart out there on the paper and get it all out. And what I love about journaling is it's almost like closure. You release the thought, you release what you have questions about, and then maybe that day, maybe the next week, you begin to get answers. And the answers will be followed or heightened by experiences that you'll have in real life that enforce the answers that you're getting. It's a beautiful process. If you are aware of your spiritual reality, you'll notice synchronicities, you'll notice God talking to you through different people. And that all comes from taking the time to sit down and just give your whole psyche to God. Like, this is everything from an honest perspective. That is what keeps my spiritual ears open. And that process is so consuming when you do it on an everyday basis that the voice of others begin to become more and more and more quiet as you become more surrounded by the voice of God and how God presents himself in different situations. This is so powerful because I am not even joking. A no can change your entire life, sometimes even overnight. When you do that spiritual hygiene, you get a better understanding of the alignment that puts, or how it feels to be in alignment with God. I will put a card on the screen of a video I came out with a couple weeks ago, and it's about how our vibration determines our proximity to God. When you keep up with that spiritual hygiene, you learn that when you're speaking to specific people or when certain opportunities arise, thinking about that person, thinking about those opportunities are going to place emotions in your mind and in your heart. And the more you speak with God, the more time you spend with God, the more you'll be able to align whether the people, the places, and the things are in alignment with what God sees for you. And what's so powerful about this is that a lot of times that people pleaser comes out and we just say yes. We say yes to everything. We say yes to everything, and the people in our lives get so used to us saying yes. And that is why one single no can change your whole life overnight. Because if you are a person who always says yes, a no is a complete change in your decision making. And when we make different decisions, our lives change. It's just cause and effect. And speaking of cause and effect, that no is a change in trajectory. So if someone asks you to do something and you say no, well, that time's going to be spent somewhere else. Instead of doing what that person told you to do, you will be doing something else. And that something else is going to lead to a different reality. No's are so powerful. I was talking to my best friend about this yesterday, and she herself was like, no is a full sentence. And I was like, yes, go off. Learning to say no opens you up to a world of possibility because your intentional no gives you the space and the time and the insight to figure out what you want to intentionally say yes to. And one of my favorite examples of this are our friendships. A lot of us have people and friends in our lives that are effect of us just always saying yes. I'll hang out with them because I have nothing better to do. I will keep my relationship with them because I've known them for so long and there's no reason for me not to. Just going with the flow and living a passive reality because yes is always easier because people always seem to remain happy when you say yes. But when you start saying no to certain things, you open up space. And a lot of times that's space for new relationships and space for new friendships. An intentional friendship is so powerful when you learn to identify the people that God is sending to you instead of saying yes to everybody. When you learn to intentionally identify who God is sending to you, you are filled with so much spirit just by being in the presence of that person or of those people. People that God sends to you are filled with his love and they see you. But the thing about this is these people are rare. I'm not going to say that it's impossible for them to find. And like I keep saying, God will send them to you. You don't have to look under rocks, but it is not everybody, okay? It is not everybody. So when we learn to create space through being more intentional about the people and the things that we're saying no to, we are making space to, or the people and the things that we're saying yes to, we're making space for the things that God wants in our life, the things that align with our peace, the things that align with our happiness, our joy, our ability to love, our patience. The people who align with spirit will come into our lives and inspire us to grow closer to spirit. A no is going to change your patterns. The patterns that you are experiencing in your life, things that seem to happen over and over, that cause you turmoil, that cause you heartbreak, that cause you pain, you can stop them all with a no. But you have to figure out what you're saying yes to that is causing the pattern to keep reoccurring. With Brown and Bendy, I realized that I get into this pattern of being really excited about my business, and then I deflate and I become insecure and I want to walk away from it and release it. And my business is grounded in teaching people about mobility. My business is grounded in teaching people about sitting in stillness and learning that they are strong enough to face whatever is within them that they've been running from and hiding from. And personally, I do this through teaching yoga and through teaching meditation. So I know what my purpose is. I know what God put me here to do, but I would continue to cycle over and over with confidence and then deflating and then wanting to walk away from my business. And I finally realized that what I kept saying yes to was working in yoga studios. Working in a yoga studio was poisonous to my business because the way that I practice yoga, my practice of yoga is a very spiritual one, and I do align it with my Christian faith. And unfortunately, a lot of yoga studios are not in alignment with that. Not necessarily my Christian faith, but a lot of yoga studios are all about aesthetic. A lot of yoga studios are all about how hard can we work? What can we accomplish? All about very very superficial perspectives. And I'm not saying all yoga studios, not at all, but a lot of the yoga studios that I've worked for, you know, hey, I'm gonna call a spade a spade. A lot of them talked a big game about being accepting and wanting to create communities of love, but they did not accept Black people. And they would say on the surface that they did, but through the things that they would say, through the way that the studios ran and the language that would be accepted, it was very clear that these studios were meant for one type of person. And for lack of better words, the studios that I have worked for have been specifically for affluent stay-at-home yoga moms. And when I realized that, I would, and older women who have the ability to continue going to yoga class. But when I realized that, I really understood how separate teaching in a yoga studio was forcing me to create another personality that had nothing to do with Brown and Bendy. I'd be Brown and Bendy outside of the yoga studio, but then when I would go to work, I would feel as though I would have to put a mask on in order to serve the people that the yoga studio was focused on serving. So I started to say no to working in a studio. And instead of going to studio classes, instead of working in a studio, I just started doing my yoga from home. I have a favorite website that I use for yoga, and it is called Aloe Moves. I've been using it for years. If you've been following me for years, you know I am a huge fan of them. This is not sponsored, but they have so many different types of classes, so many different levels of movement, and so many different levels of spirituality on this app. And I just really appreciate it. And now when I practice, I don't feel like I have to go to a studio and put a mask on. I don't feel like I have to shift my priorities. I don't feel like I have to shift who God made me to be. I don't feel any of that. So now I'm consistently practicing, but not turning my personality on and off like a light switch. And that all came from me realizing that it was time to say no. And being a person who runs a business whose business is grounded in yoga, learning that I had to say no to working and going to yoga studios, like that was kind of big for me. So for you, when you're sitting and you're understanding what do you keep saying yes to that is keeping you in a specific pattern, your answer may be something that blows your mind. You may say, how can I ever say no to that? If I say no to that, everything is going to fall apart, which is when we bring it to God and we start to have real honest and authentic conversations with God. This was about me going to a yoga studio, but it could have to do with anything. Again, people, places, or things. What do you keep saying yes to that is keeping you in a cycle of repetition? And I think that is where I'm going to leave you for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before we get out of here, I would like you to let me know down in the comment box, or you can email me, how can I pray for you? What's on your mind? What is on your heart? And how can I intercede for you? What can I bring to God for you? Okay, so if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up so other people on the platform know that it is valuable. Also, if there's anything specific that you would like me to talk about, make sure to comment. A couple of you have emailed me. I have seen your emails. I will get to them. Holiday is just holiday season, right? So still email me, still leave comments about what you would like me to talk about and what you would like me to see. I am reading and I am preparing future content. And finally, make sure that you are subscribed and that you click that notification bell so you can be notified when I come out with a new video. I am so grateful for you. I do not take your time. I do not take your energy or your attention for granted. I'm so happy to have you here. And yeah, that's our video for today. I love you so much, but Jesus loves you more. I'll see you next time. Bye.